everybody, it's Miss Crystal and welcome back. It is our second night of Kwanzaa. I wanted to share with you, yesterday was day one, and day one was Umoja, and I forgot to hold up our sign here for Umoja, which meant unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. And today, as I mentioned, is day two, which is KUJICHAGULIA. I'm going to read really quickly what that means in terms of the Nguzo Saba, which is the 7 principles that are put out for Kwanzaa every year and all year round. So KUJICHAGULIA is self-determination, and it's to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves instead of being defined, named, created for, and spoken for by others. And there's another note here. These signs, I have to give a shout out to my friend Joan Bentler, who was an elementary school teacher, and when she retired, she shared these with me, and I'm so grateful because they're such great signs. But it just explains that KUJICHAGULIA is saying who we are and who we will be, and not letting others say it for us. And so what I wanted to say about that, I'm going to light the candle first. So as a reminder, we light the black candle each night, starting with the first night. And then we use the black candle to light the other candles. We start by lighting from the left. Ooh, that flame is going up. There we go. We start by lighting from the left to the right, the red candles first, which again remind us of the struggles and pain and things that we've gone through that will then bring us into the hope and prosperity of the future. So now we've lit our first candle. We'll take a moment and a deep breath together. Okay, so self-determination, KUJICHAGULIA, is one of my favorite of the principles, and the reason for that is that I was kind of raised with this principle without knowing it, that we have to sometimes do for ourselves. So in the past, I've talked about starting a business and being able to be my own boss and those types of things, which are so important. But what I also want to talk about with self-determination and creating for ourselves is this last year, I've really chosen to dive into my writing. And I love writing. I've always loved to write. And I've always written just for fun, you know, just because I love it and people seem to respond. But this year, I really dedicated myself to writing every day, to really telling my story and realizing that my story does matter. And so doing that has helped me make a name for myself and create a place in the world, and to know that my voice is being heard. And so I would encourage you to do the same. How is it that you define for yourself? Define yourself and speak for yourself, and know that you have a voice. Even if you're a little kid, even if you're a big kid, even if you're a grown-up, even if you are 100 years old, right? It is so important to be able to say who we are and to stand in our truth. And that is part of what today is being determined. I mentioned in my video yesterday that I think I get that from my mama. And I do think I do. She is incredible in her own ways. She is a part of an organization called Project Linus, and her local chapter has been around for, she created a little over 20 years ago, and they've done over 70,000 blankets that they give to critically ill and traumatized children. And seeing it a little bit from the sidelines, I am involved, but not as involved. I see what she has created in her chapter. And even in these times when we can't get together and sew together and do these things, there's still this connectedness between all these volunteers, and still this desire to help others and to help children. And I look at that and I'm blown away. And so what is it that we can do as an individual? How do we take that self-determination, name ourselves, create and define ourselves, and by doing that, help the world? I invite you to try. And even though the world's problem seems so big sometimes, I think that the trying is what matters. And so I just invite you to think on self-determination today. And then how does that self-determination translate into how we walk out into the world? So that's KUJICHAGULIA. I also love to share a little bit about my trip to Kenya, because that's my experience on the continent of Africa. And so these, I don't know if you can see them, I'll bring them over here. But this carving is an ebony carving of a Maasai family. And I really, there were a lot of carvings in this place where we stopped on our way out. We went to the Maasai Mara to see animals out there. And on our way, we stopped at this shop that the director of the children's home knew the owner of this shop. The Mara Savannah Maasai Market. I kept the name of it. I had such an incredible experience there. And when I met the owner, we talked about so many things, and he shared tea with me, with his wife, and the director of the children's home and his wife. And I was purchasing this, but he shared more art with me just as a gift. And I received so many gifts from people while I was in Kenya. It was such a blessing. They were really grateful for me being there, and they expressed it by sharing their love through these gifts. So when I bought this, he also then gave me these beautiful paintings of Maasai warriors. And I know you probably can't see them from back there, so let me see if I can bring like this one forward a little bit so you can see it, hopefully. But it's just this beautiful painting, and it's on muslin or on cloth. And I was just so touched that he gave those to me. And this one is black and white by the same artist, also on fabric, which is why I have it pressed in these glass frames, because I love them. So that is something I wanted to share with you about my time in Kenya. And I want to say to you, if someone asks you habari gani, which is what's the news in Swahili, you can say heri za Kwanzaa, which is happy Kwanzaa. And you can say kujichagulia, which means self-determination. And something that I kind of like to do, and I tell kids they can do, is when you're feeling like you need that, you know, like when people do that power stance, you can do that power stance and say KUJICHAGULIA. If you say it really strong, it helps you feel stronger. Try it with me. Stand like this. Here we go. KUJICHAGULIA. Feels silly, but it also feels really good. So, thank you for joining me. Again, I appreciate you following me here. If you're on YouTube, thank you for subscribing to Learning with Miss Crystal. I'm also on Instagram at Learning with Miss Crystal, MISSCRYSTAL. And thank you for celebrating and learning about Kwanzaa. Bye. See you tomorrow.